What's up, everybody? Welcome to the POVincent podcast here on the River's Edge Online Radio Network. I'm your host, Vincent Didiano, giving you my point of view on movies. And, of course, joining me is my friend, my co-host, the film fatale, Jess.
Hello.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, last week on the show, we started our next franchise, the Terminator franchise. And what's exciting about this, I mean, me being being a guy who was born in the 80s and grew up through the 90s and all that, I've seen all these films, but Jess has not. So this has been kind of the interesting part about going through these films.
Yeah, this is like a new journey for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I feel like this is a film franchise that has been so popular and so legendary in several genres that even though I haven't seen the films, I'm very familiar with the story. Yeah. Like, I played the Terminator pinball forever. It's a great pinball machine. It's really fun. Fun fact, I'm a huge pinball nerd. But, it's one of those franchises that even if you haven't seen it, it's very easy to get into because I feel like you're familiar with the story. Watching the first one, I was very, very surprised how much of it I just knew.
Well, yeah, that's because it's... Yeah, and you're totally right. Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies that's so ingrained, so etched into American pop culture that it's hard not to know. Even if you're not a baseball person, you've heard of Babe Ruth, things like that.
Absolutely.
Even though Babe Ruth was 70, 80 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Or if you even like me, I'm not a big horror movie person, but even before I started watching horror movies when I got a little older, I knew of Freddy, and I knew Jason,
Myers, you know these famous characters.
Yeah.
And with the Terminator, a lot of the catchphrases that come out of this franchise. You know them very well. So it's been really fun finally watching them. But it hasn't been hard to get into them because, again, I'm just very familiar with the material already, even though I haven't watched the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the magic of these films.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they came out when we were both very young.
Mm-hmm, that's very true.
Yeah. So
this one came out right before I was born. The year before I was born.
I mean, the lines from this movie have been parodied or satired or whatever. Even Arnold's had fun with that. But yeah. So the Terminator franchise, whether it's the good ones or the bad ones, they leave an impression on you.
Oh, absolutely.
But speaking of the good ones, spoiler there on my thoughts about it, let's get into the second installment of the Terminator franchise. The one that most people believe to be the best of the whole franchise, and I personally am not one to disagree with that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Terminator 2, Judgment Day. All right, before we get into the plot synopsis, which is probably going to be super quick because you guys know it, let's get the trivia download from Jess. Jess?
All right, so this film came out in 1991. It is written, produced, and directed by James Cameron. William Wisher was also a co-writer on this film. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger once again as the Terminator, or a Terminator. We'll get into that. Edward Furlong plays a very young John Connor. Linda Hamilton comes back to play Sarah Connor. We have Robert Patrick as the T-1000 model. Joe Morton plays Miles Bennett. And then we have Earl Bowen, who comes back as Dr. Silberman. Yeah. So some fun facts about this film. Production of this Terminator film was so long that Edward Furlong actually visibly aged during it. So watching it, he's much younger in the earlier scenes than in the later scenes. You can tell, and I kind of thought that he went through a growth spurt in the middle of filming. It's just a little evident, but that's all right. You can't, when you work with kid actors, I feel like you can't avoid that. Things like that happen. What are you going to do? Completely recast it? Because he did a great job. So no, you're not going to recast him. This is also the only Terminator film nominated for an Oscar. It was nominated for 6 and won 4 out of those 6, 2 of which were Best Visual Effects and Best Sound Editing. Yeah.
And well-deserved.
Yeah, very much well deserved. So yeah, those are some fun facts about the film. Yeah.
All right, for those of you who are unaware, the basic plot of this one is it's years later after the first one. In fact, I think the movie's actually set in. The movie's not even set in 91, where it takes.
I think it's.
If I think it was 97.
I think it's 96 or 97.
Yeah.
I want to say 96, just because it's before the scientist. The computer program.
Yeah, before Skynet even gets built.
Yeah, so I want to say it's a little before 97, but we're definitely in the 90s, like mid-90s.
But anyway, so John Connor is now a young boy. He's been born. He's a young boy. He's living with foster parents because his mother, Sarah, has been placed in a maximum security insane asylum.
Yes.
However, history is repeating itself. A Terminator is sent back in time to want to kill John Connor instead of his mother, and another protector is also sent back in time. But there's a little bit of a twist. To that one, which most of you probably already know. But Jess did not know when we were watching the film, and I was waiting for it, and it was awesome.
No, we were waiting for it, especially because of a comment that I made during the filming of the first Terminator movie. I said something along the lines of, I don't understand how the Terminator was the villain of the first film, because based on just general knowledge that I had, I thought the Terminator was the good guy. I thought Arnold Schwarzenegger was the good guy. So, this is the film where that actually takes place. So, lesson learned.
Lesson learned, yeah. But anyway, so we get things started with, we get a recap of the future of, the war between man and machine. It's being narrated by Linda Hamilton, who plays Sarah Connor, who, if you liked her character in the first one, this is once again, one of the reasons why, I'm jumping ahead here a bit, but this movie catapults the character of Sarah Connor into a whole other stratosphere.
Oh, for sure.
And why she's respected by so many people now today as a character. Yeah, well, respecting Linda Hamilton because she did bring the character to life, but like she goes from the evolution.
The evolution of this character from point A to point B between films is phenomenal. It's a lot of different acting. Really, I do really appreciate her performance in this film. Yeah,
totally, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So. Now, one of the things that I got to mention before we go forward is that the remote for the DVD player is it gone or broken?
I think it's gone. I'm not quite sure.
So we actually did not watch the theatrical cut. We watched the special edition cut.
Oh, yes, we did.
So, I've always only ever seen the theatrical cut, but the special edition included some deleted scenes. So the viewing experience was just completely new for you, period. But it was different for me because some of these deleted scenes I had seen online, and I tried to point them out to you as we went through
which we should be able to maneuver around some of the deleted scenes to really talk about the main plot points.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So once again, so the movie, after we get that narration with the future, we see future John Connor. He's got this big scar on his face. Not played by Edward Furlong. That would have been some amazing technology.
If they
had aged him forward.
CGI age him up.
It's amazing how important John Connor is to this franchise and how many different actors. Because as we go forward, we're going to get different actors playing John Connor because, spoiler, Edward Furlong never returns to the role in any future films. Spoiler, sorry, Jess.
No, I kind of figured. I've seen him in that Crow film. I suffered through that.
Oh, that's right. He did one of the Crow sequels.
He did. I think the fourth one.
Sounds about right.
That's
the one with David Boreanaz?
No, I don't. Maybe?
Because Angel...
I forgot that David Boreanaz was in a Crow film.
He was in a Crow film.
Jeez.
It's probably between Angel and Bones, I'm guessing. But anyway, back to... We're getting off topic here. Sorry. We're going to a whole bunch of different franchises. But yeah, so Arnold shows up. Mm-hmm. He shows once again, electric field going off. We see this burnt
totally nude once again.
Again. Looking great, in great shape.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there was I don't know if the quality of the film between, because, there's a good number of years in between the first and second one. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I don't look like a little bit more, just a little bit of chest hair, just in one little spot.
Just a little bit.
A little bit of peach fuzz.
Updated model,
yeah. Even though it's the same. So, he goes into, instead of like being off, like I think it's called the Griffith Observatory. Somebody correct me on that, please.
He goes into a bar.
He goes into a biker bar, totally
Yeah.
naked, and he goes in and we see him through like the Terminator red vision, which that's got to be the Terminator's only fault. That'd be really funny because since Terminator's see in red, it'd be really funny if they tricked the Terminator using colors or something.
Oh, yeah,
that'd be
that'd be
funny. Like, like he has to disarm a bomb. It's like, cut the green wire. It's like, they're all red to me. He just cuts one. He just cuts the wire and explodes, but he comes out fine because he's a fucking Terminator.
It's fine, whatever.
That'd be a fucking cool. Do that in the next movie as a little gag, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever's stupid enough to make the next Terminator film, which
Someone will be.
so that will make more sense to you as we go through the franchise. Like, you're right. Somebody would be stupid to make another one. Anyway. Anyway, so it's in the biker bar, like the waitresses and the servers are all looking like, oh my God, look at this hunk of man. And all the guys in the biker bar are going like, there's a gay in this bar right now.
Yeah,
So
what
that's
the hell?
I just feel like that was probably what would be going through their heads right now because it's the early, like, I mean, it's the 90s.
It's the 90s. We're not as, people were not as accepting.
Right. But then he's like, he walks up to a guy, scans him. He's like, I need your clothes, your boots, and your bike.
Yeah,
Right?
and I loved it. It's a throwback to the very first line in the first film. There's a lot of repetitive lines. Yeah. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of story beats that are repeated, but because we got so much new stuff and it's done in a new way, it's fine. It's not it's not like The Hangover 2 where that was just like a copy paste almost, but in a different city. But yeah, so, and the guy's like, I can't remember what he says, but he blows his cigar smoke in Arnold's face and he puts the cigar out in Arnold's chest and Arnold's just like, whatever. and then one guy comes up and cracks him and Arnold breaks his hand and he's throwing people around. Some guys with a pool, a pool stick, cracks over Arnold's face. He like cracks him, launches him into the wall. And then the guy pulls out a knife just like in the first one, stabs Arnold.
Just like in the first one.
Nothing happens. But Arnold takes him, throws him so far that he goes over the bar counter, through the window, and into the kitchen in the back of the bar. Yeah. And this is like one of those like it's stupid. It's not one of the best scenes in the movie, but this one little moment, he lands on top of like the stove and the fryer, and he's like, he's like, oh, and he's like trying to get.
No matter where he puts his hands, it's hot as.
Yeah, because that actor, the actor's only in this movie for this one scene, but he pulls.
Yeah, he
I believe he's getting burnt. But anyway, so a few other people realize oh, don't fuck with this guy. He goes around, and the guy after he tries to pull out his gun, but his hands are so burnt he can't cock it. He can't do anything. Can't pull back the slider, I think it's called. Then Arnold takes the gun. And the guy just throws him his keys like, take it! Oh, like this badass biker man is reduced to this
take the bike, whatever you want, just go away.
Oh, it's awesome. So Arnold, he comes out of the bar to probably the best music you could get.
Oh, yeah. He comes out of the bar to George Thorogood's
Bad to the Bone. Bad. And that, funny enough, that was the first time I ever heard that song as a kid.
Oh, I grew up listening to George Thorogood.
But he comes out and the bar owner's like, I can't let him take your back, son. And he's got a shotgun. He blows off around to let him know he's serious. And Arnold just walks up to him. So he's like, don't. And then pow, grabs the shotgun. And then you think Arnold's going to kill him because he's a Terminator. But no, he just pulls the sunglasses out of the guy's shirt pocket.
Takes his sunglasses,
puts them on
and leaves.
Yeah. And I'll explain why I think the sunglasses thing happened. Because in the first movie, there was a reason for the sunglasses. Because at the point where the Terminator lost its organic eye and its robot eye was exposed, so it wore sunglasses. Yeah. Here, there's no real reason, especially because it's at night. But I feel like I don't know if this is ever confirmed in something later, but I have my fan theory as to why he takes the glasses. But anyway, anywho, so we move on, and then we see the entrance of our next time traveler, who we assume to be the protector, the new Kyle Reese.
That's the assumption.
Yeah, he knocks out a cop, takes the cop's clothes. I'm doing this in air quotes for those of you who are listening and not watching on YouTube. And then he gets in the cop car, he looks up John Connor, and he takes off. And that's when we next find we have John Connor, who he's living with step parents, and he's got this little redhead friend who I can't remember the name of the character, but he was on the Nickelodeon show Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah, he was.
He was like the pain in the ass kid.
Yeah.
The bully, the red. I forget what his name is. I only remember the one character, Donkey, that he was like the fat guy in the group. And I only remember Donkey Lips. I only remember Donkey Lips because the actor was in a Super Bowl commercial a few years back, and everybody was like, "Holy shit, it's Donkey Lips!"
Oh my god!
I don't even remember what he was selling in the commercial. It could have been Pepsi,
That's
Doritos, great. Nike. I don't fucking remember. I just remember Donkey Lips showing up doing this crazy fucking dance, and everybody was like, funny. "It's Donkey Lips!" Like, but once again, getting off track, I guess. But and he clearly does not respect his foster parents at all, and at least a foster dad seems to be like just like a lazy asshole. The mom is just like doing the best I can. Like she's trying. She's trying. She might be a bit of an ass. I don't know. She doesn't seem to be the most loving, nurturing type, but she's doing her mom job. I'll give her that. Yeah, but the dad seems like a lazy ass. So John, played by Edward Furlong, and his redhead friend, they take off on his dirt bike and they just go. And the friend's got the boombox blasting. And you take off. Then we get to meet Sarah Connor, and she's in an insane asylum.
Yeah, she's in an insane asylum. Dr. Silberman put her there, is the general assumption, because he's her doctor.
Yeah.
Basically, no one believes her about anything that she's said about the future, about bombs going off, about the Terminator, and I think. Eventually, we find out why she's in there. She committed a crime. She got caught. She was trying to blow up a computer programming place.
Yeah, she was trying to blow up something. I assume the place that she was attempting to destroy was
probably where Miles works, right?
Probably, yeah. It was something that she probably believed was connected to the military and Skynet. Yeah.
So she gets caught, and that's how she's ended up where she is.
Yeah. And we see that she's like, this is where we find out that Sarah now has gone from like full badass, because she's turned over her bed and
she's doing pull-ups when we get to her. Oh yeah,
she's like Linda Hamilton got in shape. Like Linda Hamilton's still not like a big one, but you can tell she's got some muscle on her. She's lean. Sure. You know, we never get to see it, but I bet she probably had like maybe a little bit of a six pack because we never see her stomach, but I believe it's there. And you can tell she's fierce now. She's a warrior. She'll fucking you can tell just because she's got the sweaty, messy hair, and the camera does a close up on her face, the eyes. Oh, and Dr. Silverman's afraid of her because she
stabbed him in the kneecap.
Yeah, she's a totally different character from the one we met in the first film, right? And as we go through the movie, this is why this character is such an iconic character in the franchise. Not just because of the technical importance the character has in the franchise, but because how Linda Hamilton portrayed this character, how it was written. It's all going to be great. But anyway, later we find out that John has, and this will come up later in the film, it's a setup for something later, much like how we talked about many of the setups in the Tremors franchise, lots of setups here. John, apparently before he was separated from his mom, she taught him hacking skills, because he's got like this little it's not even like a laptop, it's like a little note.
It's a device that people used to hack into ATM systems, like specifically.
Yeah, and that's what he does. He hacks an ATM to get $300 so him and his buddy can get them all. Yeah. And that's where we find out that not only is John separated from his mom, but John does not believe his mother about the Terminators in the future, and he thinks that she's a total wacko, and that he's ashamed of it because his friend didn't know. He kind of has like this little outburst, and his friend and his friend doesn't judge him. You can tell like his friend.
Yeah, his friend is not being an asshole about it.
Yeah.
But John doesn't want to talk about it, and he's obviously made very upset by the topic of his mother, and it's a very sore subject.
Yes. And then they take off, and we see more with the Terminator, the soldier from the future that took the cop car. He talks to John's foster parents to see if he gets a picture off of them, and also asks, do you know where he is? And he'd ask him some questions, and they ask, is this connected to the guy who was here earlier? Was this biker guy here earlier? And the guy's like, no, I don't think he'll be a problem. Yeah. And he said him, and you said
it. I was like, that's not a normal statement to make to someone. No. I don't think he'll be a problem. What? It implies that you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, he's not a problem.
Oh God.
It's such an odd response.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I think he's going to be a problem. Lock the doors. Lock the doors now.
Yeah. But anyway, so we have a quick scene back to the insane asylum, which I guess I shouldn't say insane asylum because it's like an old school term. But
I feel like it's like a
high maximum security.
It's like
psychiatric ward.
Yeah, it's kind of like Arkham. I think that's like the
criminally
easiest
insane
way to make everyone understand what this is.
Yeah, we'll call it Terminator. We'll call it T Arkham.
T Arkham.
We'll call him Tarkum. Terminator Arkham.
Yeah,
we'll call it Tarkum.
there we go.
So we're back at Tarkum. Good call. Yeah.
So we're back there, and Sarah is she's trying to convince her doctor that she doesn't actually believe in the Terminators anymore.
Yeah.
Because
he told her if you're better.
He promised her if you improve in 6 months you can see your son. You can get out of maximum security and go into like the regular holding cells, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, so we and he's like, Sarah, I know you're very smart, so I think you're lying to me, and I can only
you're bullshitting.
And all I can do is recommend to the board that you stay in maximum security for another 6 months, and that's when she loses her fucking shit
mind.
Yeah, because
she starts wailing.
Yeah, because she needs to get back to John because she needs to get John ready for the war.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Time is of the essence. She needs to go protect her son.
Yeah, because from their perspective, once again, we've popped ahead many more years than the actual gap between the two movies. Because John would be like 5 or 6, but he's not. He's like 13 or something.
Yeah.
So we've popped ahead, or like 10, 11. I can't remember.
He's like a preteen, early teen.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember if it was actually established, but he's definitely like 12 or 13.
Yeah. And because the war is just right around the corner at this point. And so she loses her shit and she's taken back to her cell. They give her like an injection to knock her out. And one of the deleted scenes, we'll talk about some of the deleted scenes.
Okay.
One of the deleted scenes we see, there's several deleted scenes of her in the asylum. There's one where after Dr. Silverman, he has the two
orderlies.
The orderlies.
Give her medication.
Yeah.
Like they force her to take medication.
Yeah. They crack her with her batons. They use stun batons. Like they beat the crap out of her so she can take a couple of pills, which causes her to have like this dream where Kyle's ghost comes to her.
She keeps hallucinating Kyle's ghost.
Yeah, which that was kind of nice to see Michael Biehn again.
It was. Yeah. That is a nice nod. I don't know why they cut him out of the film.
Yeah, I guess
are any of the films with Kyle in the regular theatrical cut or no?
No. As far as Michael Bihn's incarnation of Kyle Reese, we never see his incarnation after the first one again. There will be other incarnations of Kyle Reese in the later films. Won't go into it because once again you don't know. That's So in terms of theatrical cuts, that's the last time we see Michael Bihn's Kyle.
Okay. So yeah, she keeps having hallucinations of Kyle's ghost, and he's like reiterating to her, like, you need to protect our son. You need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but also you're strong. I love you.
Yeah, you're strong. I love you. Like encouraging her, but also like reinforcing the importance of you need to get out of here and get to John.
Yeah.
So that's her drive.
Yes.
Her entire drive at the beginning of this movie is to get the fuck out of where she is and get to her son.
Yeah. And some of the scenes are kind of cool. These delete scenes from the asylum, we're seeing like her abuse and stuff. But I think from what we get in the theatrical cut, we do get the basic idea. Because later because a little later in the movie we get like the orderlies beating her up. There's a moment later in the movie that was totally in the theatrical cut. It wasn't left out. That it's like 10 seconds and it completely sums up her situation in the Tarkum.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. But anyway, she's locked up, and then we see John and his buddy at the mall.
The arcade.
Yeah, and we see the officer ask these two little girls, like, "Have you seen John Connor?" And they're like, "I think he's at the Galleria." And he's like, "The Galleria?" Like, he emphasized that. And we shoot to the mall, and we see the police officer guy, and we see Arnold walking around, and
they're both looking for him.
They're both looking for him. And he gets to the arcade and he goes up to John's buddy and he's like, "Have you seen this kid?" And he's like, "No, I never see him." He lies to him and he runs up to John, who's playing.
"There's a cop after you. You gotta get the fuck out of here. Go."
Yeah. And he goes, but it's too late. He sees him. He starts coming at him. He like pushes the little kid out of the way, just like in a really cold, stern manner. So John runs into one of like the back wall hallways that exist in malls where like workers go.
Yeah, it's exactly where workers go to like get into the back stock room and everything.
Yeah, or like get to the back door of like their businesses so they don't have to go through the main.
Yeah, they don't have to deal with people.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with people after you've worked a day in retail. You just want to go fuck home.
No,
don't talk to me.
I don't work in retail, but I do work where I interact with my job where I interact with the public. And lately, it's been a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'm very happy
that's a discussion for an entirely different podcast. We both know. Lately, god damn. Anyway,
Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator. So. There's a guy in the back hole. He's like, "You're not supposed to be back here." Like
he's just running.
He's running, and then boom, the Arnold Schwarzenegger comes around. The Arnold Terminator comes around the corner, and John's like, "Holy shit, he's real!" That look in your face, where like he just like, "Oh my god, everything I thought my mom said was bullshit."
Everything my mom said is real. What the fuck?
Yeah, he comes around. He's coming at John, and it's like it's in slow mo. And he has this box of like red roses, and
I like the minute he grabbed he had this box of roses, and I was like, I love it. The gun's in this box of roses. Yeah. It's gonna be so fucking cheesy. It was great.
Yeah, but it's done like as classy as you can do it because like he opens up and you see the roses fall to the ground, and he just pulls the shotgun out of the box, and the roses fall to the ground, and he steps on it. So John starts hauling ass away. And he's like,
you think he's gonna shoot John?
Yeah, and then the officer shows up. Pulls out his service gun, his pistol, and Arnold points his shotgun in John's direction, and he's like, "Get down!" John ducks, and the Terminator shoots the police officer, and there's this big metal hole in him, and I was looking at your face, and you were like, okay, it's like a
it's like, oh shit, so this isn't the same game, it's in reverse. Now Arnold Schwarzenegger is the protector, and there's some other model of this Terminator after John Connor. Yeah.
You see, when I was a kid, I actually saw Terminator 2 first. So I never got the experience of that twist. Okay. In fact, the first time I saw Terminator 1, my dad told me, like, okay, just so you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger's the bad guy in this one, because Arnold was like one of my heroes as a kid, and because he did so many action movies. So my dad had to like, are you going to be okay with this? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be okay. Yeah,
it's all right.
Okay, it's all right.
He's only a bad guy for one film.
Yeah. But anyway... so then that happens, and then Arnold grabs John Connor, flips him around so his back is facing the police officer, and he just starts unloading. And a little bit of cool trivia here: for if you rewatch that scene, the gun, it's a close-up where you can see the gun and I forget Robert Patrick, who plays the T-1000, the police officer Terminator. He starts unloading the gun, and if you rewatch that scene, you can see both the gun and his face in frame. And the muzzle flash from the gun, look at Robert Patrick's face. He doesn't blink once as the flash from the muzzle is going off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because he literally trained himself. He got a guy that showed him how to do it. He literally trained himself to not blink during the muzzle flash. Because if you're a robot, you wouldn't fucking blink.
He went through a lot of training to make himself appear robotic. He also went through like a very vigorous running regimen in which he So when you exercise, you have that urge to breathe through your mouth. As someone who bikes a lot, one of the best things that you can do is breathe through your nose. And that's what he did. He trained really hard to run and only breathe through his nose so that it would appear as if he wasn't fatigued at all in all of the scenes where his character is like running fast. This thing runs so fast.
Yeah, the Arnold model was not fast, but this new one is damn fast. So Arnold takes a bunch of, he unloads his entire pistol, Arnold turns around and just starts unloading the shotgun. And it's one of those crank it's not a pump action, it's one of those crank actions, so he's got to go with his one hand and boom, and it's cool. And more, and then finally the police officer Terminator falls down, and he's got all these giant like metal big holes in it, and there's not machinery under it, it's just like this metal. And Arnold starts to reload the shotgun, and then you see the holes go.
Yeah, it just like molds back together.
Yeah, and that's why it's
liquid.
So that's what almost they call it the liquid metal Terminator, because that's what he is. Explained later in the movie that he is a polymeric alloy. I want to say I always
Yeah.
get it wrong, but he's made of liquid. They just explain it by saying he's liquid metal, which I think later, like guidebooks or stuff like that, explain that he's actually like made of like nano machines or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the idea they had when they made the movie, but you know how things go on.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
fandoms want to know the details of how these machines work.
So you gotta change.
They add lore. So I don't know if that's what James Cameron intended, or he's just like some advanced liquid metal. But later guidebooks, I think, describe that it's actually made of like hundreds of thousands of little nano machines.
Okay.
But anyway, then Arnold and the T-1000 gets up, and him and Arnold get into a fight, and they're throwing each other around, and John just takes the fuck off. He's like, I'm not
he's just like, I am not sticking around.
And even though the T-1000 is smaller and slimmer than Arnold, it's just as strong as Arnold. In fact, we see it's possibly stronger because he throws him through a wall, throws him through a window, blah, 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 blah. And that's the cool thing about it, because that's how technology is. The next model is smaller, slimmer, and I like that dynamic.
Yeah, and a little better.
Because Arnold, because like no offense to Patrick, Robert Patrick, I keep messing up Robert Patrick, but Arnold is a big dude. He's bigger than
he's just large.
Yeah, but that goes to show you just how powerful this new Terminator is. Because visually he's throwing around somebody who's way bigger than him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But then I feel like I'm talking a fuck ton because this is like this is my childhood movie.
No, you're good.
Please step in. This is one of my childhoods.
So Edward Furlong ends up escaping temporarily. Eventually, Arnold Schwarzenegger is able to catch up to John Connor and get him out of harm's way. Like they're able to get away from the other Terminator model.
Yeah, and one of the best action sequences in the movie because
John's
on his dirt bike.
It's this insane chase on this tiny dirt bike that John hops on. And he's trying to get out of there. And this is when you realize that this new model is so fast because it's catching up to him on foot. Like it's just running after him. Then Arnold jumps on that bike that he stole, and we have this chase. Eventually, Arnold gets John Connor onto his bike.
Yeah. Arnold's got a big, fat, roadster bike. He's got a...
The other Terminator steals a fucking truck, like a 16-wheeler?
If I remember correctly, what it is a tow truck for 16-wheelers.
Okay,
so
cool.
That's why it's so big.
It's just massive.
Yeah.
And he is driving this. I can't... What is that area called where they are? They're
I know it's like
a road.
It's like an aqueduct or something.
Yeah, I assume
the
it's
LA,
for flooding.
yeah, the LA for flooding, yeah.
So they're riding around down there.
We could use a few of these.
This is how John got to the mall. This is how he's trying to get home because I don't know. Home is usually preferred. Yeah. For safety. I don't think you would be safe at home from this, though. I don't think anywhere's safe from this. So he gets down there, and the new Terminator model is driving this truck after him, and eventually Arnold Schwarzenegger is able to get to John, and they blow up the truck. Yeah. The truck blows up, and in pure Terminator fashion, just like in the first film, you have this scene where the Robert Patrick's model molds itself back together, and it's not like he just comes out of the smoke looking like a robot. Yeah. He comes out looking like the fucking Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
it's just metal. Yeah. And then he morphs into his his face and all of his body characteristics, and it's just very clear that you're not dealing with the same type of Terminator.
Yeah, which is a callback to the first film when towards the end we saw the T-800 come out of the burning big truck and all the skin had burned off and it had a bit of a limp, took damage. This guy, no damage.
No damage.
He's more indestructible than the T-800. So later it's like John has the Terminator pull over and ask him, "What's the deal? Aren't you supposed to be killing me? You're not."
I really like that because it's a very long time before John's finally pull over. Wait a minute.
Yeah, he's dealing with shock.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and Arnold's like, "Yes, I'm a Terminator, flesh on the outside, robot on the inside," and he's like, "So what's the deal? Well, you're here to." He's like, "No, my mission is to protect you." And
it turns out that John Connor in the future took an old model and revamped it so that it would go back into time and be his bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his sole purpose is to be John Connor's bodyguard.
Yeah, because apparently the machines realized that the first Terminator they sent back failed its mission because obviously the timeline did not change. So they sent back the T-1000. That's the model number. It's the T, like Arnold's the T-800. This is the T-1000. This is a whole new model. And also we find, and Arnold mentions that a little later, that it is a prototype. This thing was not really supposed to go out.
Yeah.
But the machines are desperate because they've lost the war. That's why they're sending back the Terminators in time.
So like, fuck it, just send it, send it.
Which does lead to an issue with the time travel mechanic, because they say in the first movie you cannot travel, you can't send anything that's not covered in organic matter, aka skin or whatever.
And technically, this thing isn't covered in skin.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there's, once again, in a later guidebook for the fans, they explain why. I don't know. I mean, because remember, it doesn't actually have skin. It's liquid metal morphs to give the appearance of skin and the texture of it, but it's not real skin. It's technically metal. So that creates a bit of a plot hole. But so, I had to point that out because I know somebody will. But anyway, and then later, not only do we find out that future John Connor sent Arnold back, that because technically John is John Connor, the T-800 has to obey John's commands.
Yeah.
And he tries to kill some, and then because John's like, we got to go save my mom because he's going to go kill my mom, because we see in the scene, the T-1000 goes back to John's foster parents' house, morphs. We find out he's a shapeshifter. He morphs and he kills John's foster parents.
And answers the phone when John calls.
Yeah, as his foster mom to try to trick him to come back.
And these kill scenes are real gross.
Yeah.
Because, like, his preferred method of killing people is having his pointer finger become, like, this giant stabbing device.
Yeah. Or his entire forearm.
Yeah, or his entire forearm, and he just stabs people with his arm.
Yeah.
All right, that's a cool superpower.
Yeah, because he can't morph into complex things. He can only morph into something. He can
no moving parts and
chemicals.
And no chemicals.
Like he can't turn his fingers into bullets because he'd need gunpowder for that.
Right. But so Arnold's Terminator establishes that, kid, your foster parents are dead. So John wants to go save his mom from the insane asylum, and Arnold Schwarzenegger like picks him up, and he starts like screaming like, help, like get me away from this freak, like, and these two like muscly dudes come over to see what's up, and they get into a confrontation, and Arnold tries to shoot them, and John's like, whoa, like you can't kill people, like you can't just kill people.
Yeah.
And it's this whole theme for the movie that, like, John does not want the Terminator to kill people.
Yeah. He's trying to teach him the value of life. Yeah.
You can kneecap them.
Yeah.
Which is what he starts doing. Like, he ends up shooting someone in the knees, and John's like, what the fuck? And he's like, I promise you he's going to live.
Well, he says it real cool and silly. He'll live.
Yeah, he'll live.
Like, the Terminator already found a loophole in John's rules. I like that. He's a problem solver. That killing machine him.
Yeah, because when they get to the asylum, they have to get past the guard, and that's how the guard at the gate, and that's how they do it. He just shoots him in the knees.
Yeah. Which so they get to they get to Tarkum. They get to Tarkum to save.
Because John figures out like, oh, okay, so you have to listen to what I say, so I command you to help me fucking rescue my mom.
Right. And
like, you're doing it. You don't have a choice.
And he just does it. He doesn't like really. Yeah. He's not really like, oh, fine, because he's a Terminator. He's a machine.
I feel like if he could show emotions, it's exactly how. Because he just kind of stares at him.
Yeah. He's like, yeah. It's like that stare kind of communicates. If I had emotions, I'd tell you stop being a little dipshit.
Like,
you're going to die, you stupid, stubborn fuck. But anyway, so now here comes up the scene where I think we're like, it kind of made a lot of the, like, I understand why they deleted some of the more scenes with Sarah in Tarkum. It's because, like, we see the one orderly tie her to her bed because she was being violent, ties her down, straps her down. And he does this where he gets right up in her face as she's
like pretending to be in a catatonic state.
Yeah, she's pretending.
Yeah.
And he just licks her like from her cheek to like up to her
face. Like, what the fuck?
That tells you everything you need to know about her
That's
her
just
life
gross.
her life in this place. Like, we didn't need, that's why we don't need the scene.
Yeah, because that's just gross. What the fuck?
Yeah, I remember when I saw that as a kid, I turned to my dad's like, why did he do that? And my dad's like, some people in this world are just sick. And that's all my dad needs to say.
That's it.
Yeah, and from that one scene, you get the idea of like, what the hell? Like, that's why we don't need the scene earlier of her getting beat up by the other orderlies, because you're like, once you see that, you're like, oh my god, what else has this man done to her? Like the imagination.
You can only assume.
Yeah. But anyway, she's pretending to be in a catatonic state. She's really got a paper clip that she's hiding in her mouth, and she picks her lock and gets out of there. And she's got to move because the T-1000 is already there on site.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he like. And we see like his morphing ability taken to the extreme because we have this one like officer, security guard, I don't know, he's assigned there, and he steps on the floor. As he steps by the floor, we see the T-1000 disguise himself as the floor,
and just comes up out of the tiles,
which is this kind of creepy, scary, like once again kind of like a horror vibe, like this
absolutely.
monster that you don't know when it's going to strike.
There's a lot of body horror in these films,
and because he stepped on him. That's the T-1000 can only turn into somebody it's touched. So it says he stepped on him, he turns into this guy, and he stabs him through the fucking eye with his finger.
Yeah.
Like it's like, and it's like nice animatronic work for at the time, like because that's what like there is CGI used in this movie, but we still got some animatronic work in this film, which I appreciate.
And the CGI that we get is not bad, by the way. It's actually like really, really good CGI for the time.
Yeah, some of the special effects, I'm going to say right now, some of the special effects have aged, like some certain moments, like I look at it, but they've still aged pretty well.
They have.
Like, honestly, it's been said by many people, especially since the newer movies come out, some of like because like, spoilers, there's some liquid metal shit that happens in later movies, some liquid metal Terminators and stuff. But some of the liquid metal morph scenes still look pretty good to this day. Some of it looks better than some of the stuff we got today. It's weird.
Yeah, honestly.
And I don't know if it's nostalgia, but it still holds up to me. Like, it's not perfect. It has aged a little bit, but it still holds up so well. They must have put so much time and effort into this shit.
They did. Yeah, it's very evident. So Sarah is trying to make a break for it.
Yeah.
And for the most part, she does. Like, she books it. She has a syringe filled with cleaning liquid at some
like
one point.
Drano or something like that.
And she
Off-brand
holds
Drano.
Dr. Silberman hostage and gets through some of the security doors, and she's running.
Yeah.
And she's running. And then she gets to the elevator, and the elevator opens, and it's Arnold.
Yeah.
And so she just, like, kind of loses her shit.
Yeah. She slips off the ground.
Terrified.
She's screaming. Like, she's having a full-blown panic attack, like PTSD.
And John runs out eventually because he was behind the Terminator.
Yeah.
And she doesn't see her son first. And he's like, Mom, like, calm down. It's me. I'm here. And she comes to eventually. And
yeah, after Arnold, like, really throws around all of the orderlies.
Yeah, he just beats the orderlies up.
And there's a funny thing. I didn't know this until somebody had pointed out in like a YouTube video I saw, but there's the one orderly who's black. Arnold grabs him, throws him, and then it cuts to the next frame of him hitting the glass, but it's a white guy hitting the glass.
Oh.
And it happened so quickly that I never noticed it until somebody pointed out. I can't remember what YouTube video it was. Was it Red Letter Media? It could have been. I don't know. But so there's I never know because it happens so quick. Like, you don't notice and the action's happening.
No, I didn't notice that either.
But then, so anyway, John's like, Mom, he's here to help us. And she's even looking at it like, this Terminator isn't fucking killing me yet.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And then he holds out his hand and he's
You're
like,
crazy.
Come with me if you want to live, which is what Kyle said to her when they first met in the first movie after the initial confrontation. And like, she takes his hand and she gets up and she's still looking at him like he's like the most evil thing in the universe. Yeah. But then T-1000
shows up.
And one of the most memorable special effects scenes in the movie where he's like behind like these jail cell bars, like because like they're in like an area of the place where they don't want patients going. And he just pushes through the bars and he liquefies around the bars.
like just goes right through them.
Yeah, very cool fucking scene. And they start to give chase, and Arnold's like, move it. And he's firing shotguns and guns and blah, blah, blah. And they just barely get into the elevator, and the door's closed, and then T-1000 liquids it through the crack in the door and pulls it open with like these like giant crowbar arms he's got now.
Yeah, he has crowbar arms for like a hot minute there.
Yeah, and then Arnold just points the shotgun in his face and his head blows the fuck apart. Once again, great special effects work.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what just makes the action so good because it never, like, I always say when I'm like a sci-fi action movie and the special, like the action could be good, but the special effects are bad. It takes me out. I'm having trouble enjoying it. Not here.
Yeah, no, not here at all.
Once again, these special effects hold up so well. Like, they have aged a bit. If you watch them now, they have aged a bit, but like not nearly as bad as some other movies I've seen.
No.
Like it's remarkable considering some of the movies where the special effects have aged bad that came like out 10 years after this. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they have a really good team on this film.
I'm sorry, I'm really fixated on that shit. But anyway, let's speed it along because we've been talking for a while now. Shit. I don't want this episode to go too long, even if I edit it down. But so anyway, they get in the elevator and the T-1000 just like goes down the elevator shaft and stabbing through the ceiling of the elevator. They get out, they take a cop car, and they start hauling ass at T-1000. As you point out later, Robert Patrick really fucking running at them.
He really made it believable that this thing is running at them without breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal to be running that fast. And we get another really awesome like car chase scene. There's a lot of them in this film.
Yeah.
This is a really good one as well.
Yeah, and the T-1000 like runs up to the car and he like uses his crowbar arms to like claw up his way at the back trunk of the car to crash in through the
the back window open. And
now this is one point where a certain like special effect hasn't aged because there's one point where you see like the T-1000 he's dug in and he's holding on to the back of this car as they're driving away and it peels out of the parking lot and you can totally tell like it's a fucking dummy like strapped to the back of the car. That didn't age well. It's kind of funny.
That's hard to do with a real body though.
But eventually with a few shotgun blasts they blow the T-1000 off the back of the car. And there's this one great little character moment where Sarah Connor looks at John and is like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And she's like, "Come here." And it looks like, they're gonna get, they're gonna hug. And John's like, "Oh my God, it feels so good." But no, Sarah's checking him to make sure he doesn't have any wounds. And then she berates him for rescuing her because he's so important.
Like, what the fuck? And it's this really, kind of sad moment because all this kid has wanted was his mom. Like, all he wanted was to rescue his mom, and he did it, and she's not even, like, happy about it or proud of him. Yeah. And you see, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, like, observe this, which it's established that later, through observing the human interactions, he learns more about them. So, like, he's observing everything that's happening around him between Sarah and John. And it's just this sad little scene, yeah. And we get more of that to see like Sarah's so concerned with protecting John and Judgment Day coming up that she's kind of like she's going too extreme in certain areas, and it's mostly displayed in one great scene later in the film, but we'll get to that. So they're on the run now. They stop at a broken down gas station so they can sew up Sarah because she got cut by the T-1000 while they were in the elevator. So Arnold sews her up, and because he's got detailed anatomy files to make him a better killer. Yeah.
And then they pull the bullets in Arnold out because he's been shot multiple times at this point. And this is where we learn that like he can heal, that the skin will heal. So the bullet wounds will not be there.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine eventually. And then we have the scene where, like in the original theatrical cut, he asks, John asks, like, "Are you able to become more human or whatever?" Because he acts like a machine.
Yeah.
And in the theatrical cut, he says, like, "I have a neural net processor, a learning computer. The more I interact with humans, the more I learn, the more I can, act normal and stuff like that." Now, in the deleted scene, it is stated that his CPU has a switch on it, that if they flip the switch, he now has free will and he can evolve.
Yes.
And he can make his own decisions. And this is one of the lead scenes where they literally have to cut open Arnold's head and remove the CPU out of his head and flip like a little switch.
It's a really neat scene because you get to see the CPU chip a little early.
Yeah, and it's it's a little tiny switch, like one of the switches that are back on the back of old Nintendo cartridges and shit like that. It's a little tiny switch, and it's in the deleted scene. Sarah sees this as its moment to destroy the Terminator because it's like vulnerable once you take its CPU chip out. It's just like frozen. He can't move.
Yeah, it's just a frozen robot.
And John's like, no, we need to we need him because he's
gonna protect us.
Yeah,
like,
blah,
don't
blah.
kill him.
Yeah, so it's a nice little scene, but it's like,
it is because John establishes like if my mom can't even listen to me or won't even listen to me, how the fuck do you think a bunch of like a whole army's gonna listen to me? Like maybe you should take some pointers from me, Mom.
Yeah. But in the theatrical cut, Sarah just seems to accept the Terminator as, okay, well, my son from the future reprogrammed this thing, so even though I fucking hate it, it's my son sent it back, so I'll trust it. With this one, Sarah's like, no, fuck, we gotta kill it now. So depending on how you view it, like, which was the better one. But once again, I can see also, like, because the scene does take some time and stuff like that. But why I think the scene is best about it is, like, why the Terminator evolves over the course of this film.
Yeah.
He doesn't become a total human, but you see a change in him. Where in the old movie, you just have to accept, okay, he has a learning computer. With this, it makes a little more sense. But yeah. Anyway, so they have some moments where John's talking, and there's bonding moments between the Terminator, like where he teaches him the "Hasta la vista, baby" line, stuff like that.
That's cute.
Also, little moments where he sees these two little boys with like toy guns shooting at each other, and John's like asks the Terminator like, "Humanity's not gonna make it," and he's like, "No, you guys like fucking killing each other." All these like nice little moments, bonding moments, with a little sprinkles of deleted scenes here and there.
Yeah.
But eventually they get to what is it, Miguel?
I think Miguel.
No, Enrique.
We were both wrong.
Enrique.
We get to Enrique's. This is someone that Sarah has clearly had a past with.
Yeah.
This is where she keeps her stock of weapons.
Yeah, a fucking fuck ton of weapons.
It's in like this underground
illegal weapons
trench.
Yeah.
A bunch of illegal weapons. So they're getting ready. They're getting prepared.
This is an NRA member's wet dream, this fucking joint.
So they're getting prepared to take on this robot.
Yeah.
We have some more bonding moments between Arnold and John Connor.
Yeah.
Which is very nice that it's established. This weird scene where Sarah's, talking about how John has never had a father, and here is this Terminator that is taking on essentially like a father role, like or some sort of friendship, like a bonding. Because
John
she sees it.
Yeah, John never bonded with his stepfather, who we saw earlier in the movie was just like this lazy ass. Because John, Sarah Connor, once again, Linda Hamilton doing a great job in this narration. It's like, he'll never get drunk or tell him, I don't have time for you.
Yeah, his sole purpose is to do whatever John Connor tells him.
Yeah.
So he's like the perfect authority figure to have, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, protector.
Great. Because we find out early in the movie through John and Sarah that as John was growing up, Sarah did bunk up with certain men over the years. But her real reason was because they
could teach her how to shoot and how to fight and
all that
how
stuff.
To survive.
Yeah. Where John growing up didn't realize this was an abnormal life until he was put into foster care. He just thought that was normal.
he thought everyone lived that way. He said that at least twice.
But during all these bonding moments, since they got away from Tarkum, the T-800, Arnold, does tell Sarah Connor how Skynet gets built, what company does it, who was the main guy behind the creation of the computer that became Skynet. And they have this scene where she has a dream. It's a dream sequence where Sarah sees the younger version of herself.
She has this dream a few times. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, the first time you saw it, that was actually a deleted scene.
Okay. So this is theatrically, this is the first time you see it. She sees herself with baby John, and they're at a playground, and Dream Sarah is behind this fence, and she's screaming, but there's no sound. And eventually a bomb goes off, and she watches everyone
die. A nuclear
die.
bomb.
Yeah, she watches everyone die, and it is very vivid, and the special effects are real cool because obviously it's a dream sequence, and you can tell. But
a lot of models, practical effects, everyone just burning. To like the real horror of even though it's probably not probably some inaccuracies in it compared to how a real nuclear bomb would go off, but it's like a nuclear bomb is if all of a sudden hell literally poured out onto the earth.
Yeah.
All the burning and flames and getting torched and all that stuff. Very visually visceral and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So she wakes up and she makes a decision. She grabs some gear, some guns, and she
leaves.
She leaves, and without telling John in the Terminator, takes off, and she's going to go kill Miles Dyson, the man who is designing Skynet, who is unaware that this thing is going to turn on humanity.
Yeah, he has no idea. He's just trying to build this computer program. He's just a nerd.
Yeah. So
nerds don't do this. Come on now. Do we really want technology to be sentient? I don't.
Every time I hear of AI happening, I just think of this movie and The Matrix.
Listen, I worked at Carnegie Mellon University for a little while. I made coffee in their where they make their robots, and they had a robot that you can play Scrabble with, not too far away from where I worked, and that thing fucking terrifies me. It is really fucking creepy. Its sole purpose is not really to play Scrabble against you. It's to insult you while you play Scrabble against it. And we don't need that. Like that. No, it's too uncanny valley. Like, stop doing it. Look at what happens. Skynet is what's going to happen. Sarah Connor's going to show up at your house, and it's not going to be pretty, because that's exactly what she does. She shows up at Miles' house with a bunch of guns, and she tries to shoot him through the window with a sniper rifle, and she misses. She destroys all, like, his computer and everything. Eventually, like, gets into the house. She does shoot Miles in the shoulder.
Yeah, so in the shoulder area. But yeah, so she's on top of Miles. She's got her hand on. She's ready to like finish him off. Mm-hmm. But his son comes roaring in. He's like, "Please don't shoot my daddy!
Please don't shoot my dad! Please don't!"
And his wife pulls his son back, and she's like, "Get him the fucking ground! I don't want the fucking!" And she's gonna shoot him, and she's like, "This is all your fault! Like you're seeing dead." And he just looks at her like this vulnerable man. He's just like, "Don't hurt." He has
no idea what's going on.
Don't hurt my family, please. And he's just looking at it like, he's like what? And he's like, he's vulnerable and he's shaking. And she says this moment, it's like. This moment, it's a great moment where she realizes what the fuck she's doing, that she is acting just as cold as a Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if she does it, she loses her humanity at this moment.
And John and the Terminator show up because they figure out where she's gone and are able to jump into the situation and kind of de-escalate what's happening.
Yeah.
And then eventually they sit down with Miles and his wife and they explain, like, here's the thing, this program that you're working on in the future, it's going to destroy humanity.
Yeah.
We need to shut it down. We need to destroy it. We need your help.
Yeah.
So Miles agrees to go with them to where he works to destroy all of his files, to destroy everything that he's worked on for the last few years.
Yeah, including components from the first Terminator.
The company that he works for has the right arm and part of the CPU chip from the original Terminator.
Which is how they were able to come up with this new technology.
Mm-hmm. It's all based on the first Terminator.
Because the government covered it up, which is why everyone thinks Sarah Connor was insane, because why would you think she's insane? You have this smashed piece of a robot, but no, the government covered it up. The fucking government.
As
if
always.
Burt Gummer was in this movie, he'd be furious.
He'd be fucking pissed. But, so Miles agrees, and they go to his office. They start destroying things. They have to break in. Like, Miles tries to bring them in. There's a security guard there, and he's just like, yeah, so these are my friends from out of town, and I'm just taking them to see the lab. And the security guy's like, no, you're not. And Sarah and the Terminator tie him up in the bathroom. Yeah. And they go and they start destroying files, and eventually... all of these police officers show up, all of these cops, and then eventually T-1000 also shows up.
Yeah, but all the cops, the SWAT team, all cops. Even John Connor, when they say,
his mom's like, how many? All of them.
Yeah,
it's this cute little all of them. He's smart ass, but he's not wrong. There's a helicopter, the whole SWAT team,
the whole shebang.
Yes. And the cops come in, and there's a shootout.
Well, before that, Arnold goes out with a fucking minigun and just starts unloading the whole thing. For those of you who don't know what a minigun is, you might know it by a more
turret gun?
Gatling gun.
There we go.
Yeah, because the minigun is the descendant of the Gatling gun. It's that gun where it has six barrels and it spins around, so the barrels spin around. And those motherfuckers spit out 3,000 rounds a minute, and I know that because of fucking History Channel. So.
That's what you said when we were watching the movie.
Thanks, History Channel. Before you became about antiquities, he
takes out a bunch of the cops outside. But he
doesn't kill any of them.
Yeah, he doesn't kill any of them. He destroys all of their cars. There's definitely some injuries, but nobody's dead.
Fires his grenade launcher at them.
Nobody's dead. And inside, the SWAT team is able to get into the building, and Sarah and Miles have set up some nitroglycerin to blow up the computers that Miles had been working on in the lab. They managed to get the arm and the CPU chip, and John Connor holds on to those. Yeah. And then the cops get in. And we have this scene where Miles is out in the open and he just gets shot multiple times. Yeah. Is somehow still alive. Manages to get to where they've set up this bomb trigger and he has like part of this computer system that he had worked on in his hand, and he's holding it, and he's trying to hold it above this trigger and buy Sarah and the Terminator and John time to get the fuck out, because he obviously realizes he's not going to make it out of here alive.
Yeah.
And as the cops are coming into the room, they spot him, and he tells them, like, I can't hold on to this much longer because he's going to die, and let go of it and set this bomb off. And that makes the SWAT team pull back and get the fuck out, because now they have a bomb situation, so they need to get out of there. And eventually Miles does die, and as he dies, his arm lowers, and the whole lab explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a really cool scene. But then John, Sarah, and the Terminator get out of there. The Terminator confronts the SWAT team, who like unloads all their guns on him, and the bullets peel away the skin on his face, so you see more of his robot side. And he just takes them all out, commandeers their SWAT van.
Yeah, he steals their SWAT van.
And they peel out of there. They all get in the SWAT, peel out, and the T-1000 is on like a motorcycle, cop bike. He sees them, and he sees the helicopter outside, so he launches his bike out the window of the office.
Yeah, and into this helicopter.
Yeah, smashes his head through the front window. Yeah, liquefies into the helicopter. And while still, like, he takes on, like, his human form, but still metal looking, and he looks at the helicopter pilot and is just like, get out. Which is exactly what the previous T-800 said in the last movie towards the end when he took the 16-wheeler. So all these little callbacks. So, so then he takes the helicopter and he's in pursuit of them in the SWAT van. And some really crazy but awesome, because if this was done today, it would be a CGI helicopter. Which,
And because it's not done today, these were all real helicopters and real cars and real stunt people doing these stunts and pulling them off. And it's this amazing chase between this SWAT van and this helicopter down a highway. Where you have, like, the helicopter going underneath bridges at certain points.
Yeah,
and
low bridges and, like, underpasses. It was, like,
the
crazy,
amount of
dangerous
car
stunts.
accidents. I didn't bring this up, but the amount of car accidents that, like, the Terminator causes and the T-1000 causes throughout this entire movie. Like, I didn't count them, but the next time I watch this, I'm definitely going to, because there are so many fucking, like, car accidents. It's just really funny.
Yeah. Real cars, no CGI.
Yeah, all real cars,
which makes it so much better.
Yeah, someone was having a lot of fun just busting up cars.
Oh my God! And once again, just what kudos to whoever the stuntman was in the helicopter, because those stunts were no doubtly super dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous.
If I were a rich man, I'd hire that guy to be my personal helicopter pilot, because if he can do all that shit, he can fly me anywhere.
He'd be fine.
But anyway, so eventually the helicopter crashes, and like in the first movie, the T-1000 gets hold of a 16-wheeler. They hop in a truck, our heroes, and they're driving away. But eventually Arnold gets out of the truck and hops up onto the 16-wheeler with like a machine gun and just unloads the whole thing into the T-1000 until it's like just riddled with bullets.
Yeah,
and it's like, bah, 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 bah. And Arnold grabs the steering wheel and pulls it hard, and the truck flips over and crashes, and they crash into a steel mill. So, which is, as a Pittsburgher, steel mill.
Nice. And the truck, it turns out, was carrying,
liquid.
Liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
So that starts leaking out into this steel mill. And
all the steel wheel workers, all the workers there, they just scatter.
Yeah, they just scatter. The T-1000 gets out and tries to walk through this liquid nitrogen and starts sticking to the ground very slowly at first, and then more so. And then eventually, like, the liquid nitrogen actually freezes the T-1000, and as he starts to walk forward, his, like, foot breaks off, and then his leg breaks off, and he essentially, like, shatters into a bunch of different pieces. So for a moment there, you think like, oh shit, like that's it, it's over, like this thing's been destroyed because it's frozen. And like the Terminator and Sarah and John are checking each other,
they're all banged up. Like Sarah's got a bullet wound at this point.
Sarah's been shot at this point in the leg, and is limping, and there's only they need to get out of the steel mill.
Yeah.
And as this is happening, the heat from the fires in the mill,
from the molten metal,
are melting these broken pieces of the T-1000, and slowly but surely they are morphing together on the floor, like one by one, like little tiny puddles of liquid metal, just
and it's
shooting back together.
And if I may point out, it's really nice because we just got done with this one car chase action scene, so the tension's gone down a little bit. But as it's
a few moments of calm before the storm,
and the reforming of the T-1000, this moment helps rise the tension back up. It's like, oh, you guys thought we're done?
Like, oh,
nope, here we go again, motherfuckers.
Like, and at that point, how are you going to defeat this thing? Because you just froze it, and that didn't actually work. So what are you going to do? So Arnold realizes like what's going on, and he's like, we got to get the fuck out of here because now we have a limited time to do so. And the T-1000 gets back up, and we have another huge action scene leading into the climax of the film.
At one point, Arnold tells Sarah and John, go. And he's like, yells at John, John, go now. And
because he essentially is gonna maybe sacrifice himself so that Sarah and John can get out of there. Because how the fuck are you gonna defeat this thing?
And the T-1000 him, they fight, and he gets heavily damaged. His one arm
the
gets caught.
T-1000 beats the shit out of him.
Sarah gets John onto some conveyor belt. The second time we see a conveyor belt in this franchise.
Yeah, he's down on a conveyor belt, and the T-1000 is advancing on Sarah.
She tries to shoot him with a she blasts him with her own shotgun, and obviously just slows him down for a sec.
Himself back together real fast.
He knocks the shotgun out of her hand. He turns his finger into a what's the word? Those knives they put at the end of guns. What am I looking at here?
A bayonet.
Bayonet, like a bayonet finger, sticks in Sarah, and he's like, call out to John.
He sticks it through her shoulder.
And she tells him, like, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. And right as he's about to kill her, because he realizes, okay, she's not going to do it, Arnold shows back up, cuts the fucking T-1000 down.
Right down the middle.
With a big metal bar, and the T-1000 just kicks him back. More spectacular, pulls out the bar, and they have another fight in which, the T-1000 just beats the shit out of him. He slams his head in this big, railing system that's on, on a slider.
Oh, yeah.
And then...
Once again, a lot of body horror, because if this wasn't a Terminator taking that damage, he would have just smashed a person's face in. And he does kind of smash the Terminator's face in a little, but it takes 4 or 5 good slams.
Because half of the skin on his face is missing. He's missing an arm, just portions of skin missing all over. He's thoroughly damaged.
I'm trying to crawl away on his stub.
Yeah.
It's
it's literally you're feeling for your because you're looking at oh my god, this invincible killing machine is now reduced.
He's gonna kill the Terminator. What the fuck?
And he does. He takes the metal bar and he impales him, and we see all the electricity shoot out of his body, and then we see the readout in his eyes, and he shuts down. He's out of power. The Terminator is dead. The T-800 is dead.
He's gone out.
And
the lights have gone out.
Yeah. And then the T-1000 goes on for his pursuit of John, particularly John and Sarah. But then we see a scene where we cut back to T-800, and he's got a backup power system. Mm-hmm. He's got a third power unit, or a second power unit, and he turns that on, and he pulls the bar out of himself, picks up his grenade launcher, and he goes back to try to catch up.
He's not letting this dude win.
Hell fucking no. He's got a mission, and he's going to complete it. And then we have this great scene where Sarah catches up to John, and she's like, John, help me. And then Sarah shows up behind Sarah, and she's like, John, get down. And she sees, and John realizes oh crap, it's a T-1000. He gets down. Sarah blasts him with a shotgun, and we see this big metal hole in Sarah Connor, because it's the T-1000 technically, but he turns around. And Sarah, who's now got one arm wounded, she cocks the shotgun with one arm, blast him, cock again, blast him. And
just keeps blasting him with shotgun shells.
And he's getting pushed back more and more and more. And then we're on this platform, and we see at the edge of the platform down below 50 feet. Molten metal. She's trying to blast him down into the metal. Mm-hmm. She fires. He's on the fucking edge, cocks the shotgun one more time, and click. She's out of fucking ammo. She's out. And the T-1000 heals up to Woody.
Starts moving forward again.
And this is where he's very sinister. He looks at her and he just wags his finger no.
It's oh, you fucker.
And they're like, fuck. And then all of a sudden from behind, Arnold comes around the fucking corner with his and Sarah grabs John. They hit the floor, and And he fires the grenade launcher and like goes into the T-1000. And he looks, he's like, and like explodes, and he like explodes.
Of course, pushes him backwards off of this platform into this molten.
Yeah, he looks like
metal.
but before like he's like shattered into like this like he looks like modern art.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, what's that famous artist who did like the melting clocks? Who's that guy?
Dali.
Yeah, Salvador Dali. He looks like a Salvador Dali like piece of art or something.
Yeah, he does, because he's like partially melted, and slowly he does end up melting and dissolving, and
a great death scene because he's like
really,
roaring
really
like a monster.
Yeah, because he's like, what the fuck? That's not supposed to be happening. Yeah, it's a really cool death scene.
He's flailing. He's going through all his different morphs, and he's like.
So we've saved the day.
Yeah,
they've saved the day. And all is well, except the Terminator points out that he's still around.
Yeah.
And in order to really, make sure that no one can have access to Terminator technology, to prevent this from coming into the future,
Judgment Day, to stop Judgment Day from happening,
he needs to be destroyed. But he cannot terminate himself because that goes against all protocol. So he asks Sarah for help terminating himself. And he grabs onto this chain that is above that molten lava, I'll call it, because that's basically what it is. And they slowly go to lower him in.
But John's against it. John's like, no.
Against it.
He tries to order him, but the Terminator is not following his orders at this point. Mm-hmm. Which, if you're watching the theatrical cut, you're like, oh shit, he's like, is he evolved, or is he just following his mission profile?
This is a really sad moment where the Terminator is like, I know why humans cry now, and
it's something I can never do.
Something I can never do, and you're just like, oh no!
This machine's learned the value of human life.
He's learned to feel.
It's so fucking good. Yeah.
So they spare his life.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not going to kill Arnold. Like, come on now. So he doesn't die.
No.
Just kidding, guys.
Yeah. But so he gets onto the chain. Sarah presses the button. The chains start to lower him down as the Terminator theme plays, and a real sad, like it's sad and heroic at the same time. He's making the ultimate sacrifice.
It's very stoic. That's the word for it.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets poured down. He lowers into lava. He's destroyed. He gives like this and as his arm goes down, his arm turns into a thumbs up for like John, because there's that earlier part in the movie, though Sarah was narrating over it, where you didn't notice John shows him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
He shows it's that little
like he taught him how to do it.
Yeah, and then we see like the last little bit of like the Terminator vision of his camera view going out, and then the final scene of the movie is a camera view of the road as they're like driving down this new road, and like Sarah Connor's like, I don't know what the future holds, but it's seeming a lot brighter now at this point. And then the movie ends, credit roll, and oh my god,
I really like this ending, knowing that we have another film coming up though, because as far as I know, there wasn't anything left out in the open at this point.
No,
as far as you know.
No, James Cameron, for James Cameron's point of view, the story was over.
Yeah. So again, I have not watched the third one yet. Is James Cameron still involved in the third one, or all right?
No.
Okay.
No,
I need to prepare.
Get ready. Get ready, buddy.
Honestly, these two films were phenomenal. I really, really liked this one. I do agree that T2 is better than the Terminator. I like that you have the Terminator. I like how it establishes the plot, and it was very evident going into this film that this one was more popular because, again, I said I didn't understand how the Terminator was a villain, and throughout the franchise he's really not. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger is not the villain throughout the whole franchise. Just as far as I know, just the one film. So that's established in this film. I like it. Yeah. It was a really good one.
Yeah, this movie, it just, in my opinion, it improves in every way from the first film. The writing's better, the acting's better, the action's even better. Special effects are groundbreaking at this point in time. Once again, a lot of them hold up so well. Mm-hmm. Some aging, but they do hold up so well.
Yeah, even the ones that are aged aren't that, they didn't age that poorly.
Yeah.
You know?
Look, once again, Arnold Schwarzenegger is great as a Terminator, as this new version of the Terminator. Robert Patrick is great as a T-1000, whereas the T-100 from the first movie is this intimidating, unstoppable creature. I would say the T-1000, it has this more of a sinister.
Yeah, it's far more sinister, far more cold of a mechanics.
Yeah. And what helps it is that because he's a newer model, he actually has he's
sleeker.
He's sleeker, and he actually is able to show a personality where the T-800 doesn't really have a personality.
Yeah, he was very
stone-faced, we'll say. Stone-faced.
Yeah, stone-faced.
Because we do see he does display a personality when he's talking to people, when he's in disguise. That how the Robert Patrick, great job. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor, fucking great performance.
Yeah, all of the actors did a phenomenal job. It was very well cast, very well written, just a very good movie overall. I'm disappointed that I know going forward is going to be a lot rockier after this one. I'm well aware.
Expect us to have some alcoholic beverages in the next episode.
Like I said, this is a franchise that is so well known. Even though I haven't seen a lot of these films, I know what the critics said about them going into them. Yeah. So I know what I'm getting into as I watch them. Yeah. I know, I've already been affectionately calling Genesis Genisis because I think it's hilarious.
I'm looking forward to getting that one. I know we still got a few weeks before we watch that.
If you would like to help fund our alcohol for this journey, check us out on Patreon. If you can't give anything, that's cool too. We understand it's still COVID times and things are still hard. Yeah. So we want to thank you so much for listening to us.
Yeah.
On so many different platforms. What are all of them again? We're on so many different ones, you guys.
Yeah. Well, we are on Libsyn, and through Libsyn, we are on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube. And if you cannot help us through Patreon, like Jess have suggested, if you can follow, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, honestly, that would be the biggest help right now.
Listen to us with your friends.
Yes.
Share. Make fun of us with your friends if you want. If you totally disagree and you can't stand action films, let us know. And we're also still always open to talking about what franchises we're going to do next. So if you have any suggestions, even this early on into the Terminator franchise, hit us with a comment, hit us with a message. Just, let us know what franchise you would like to see us do. We want to do, we really enjoy these films, obviously. Yeah. But we also want to talk about films you enjoy. So let us know.
Yeah. So let us know, guys. So that's going to be it for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. The movie. Phenomenal film.
Yeah.
It's so phenomenal. It is the movie that turned boys into men into gods. But next time we'll be tackling the movie that brought those gods crashing back down to Earth.
And probably crying.
With Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. But until next time, thank you for viewing things from our point of view. Take it easy out there, everybody.
See ya.